Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Guido, and today I'm going to share with you how to exactly hire a DM setter, and more importantly, why you should hire one in the first place for your coaching business and when you should do it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Guido. I help coaches that are stuck between 7 and 20K per month to implement acquisition infrastructures in their business from end to end so that they can scale to 50K per month. Now, let's get straight into it. If you want more videos like this, though, feel free to subscribe below and leave a comment to tell me what kind of questions you have. I'm happy to make videos on that. So, what is this video about, really? Well, the main thing is that a lot of people in the space are starting to realize that they can't do everything themselves, right? It's very important that you find people that are going to help you scale to the next level because at some point you have to do so, right? The constraint will be your time. Now, the problem is that kind of goes too far because then people start hiring at the wrong times, right? They think, well, time is the problem, then, well, I'm just going to get a setter, right? Or I don't feel like doing setting. And so I'm just going to get a setter. Now, that doesn't mean that can't work, but honestly, when people rush into the decision of getting a setter, it usually ends up making it so that since they want to get rid of it as soon as possible, they don't go through the proper hiring process. So they select the wrong person and it ends up not working out. And so all that time, they have to kind of work with this person, try to figure out with them, and then it doesn't work out and they lose all the time, right? 2 months, 3 months, whatever, however long it is. Whereas instead, if they had a proper hiring structure, and most importantly, if they had set up their business properly so that truly it made sense to hire a setter, then not only would they get a much better setter, but the setter would actually stay. The biggest cost in your business is hiring the wrong person and having them leave afterwards. It's the biggest thing you could do that would hurt your business. So, yeah, let's go through all the things that are important around hiring and specifically DM setter, why to do it, when to do it, and then how to do it. So let's get straight into it. Let me share my screen here. So let's start with the first question. Why should you hire a DM setter? Okay. There are three main reasons that you should hire a DM setter. The first reason is, put it here. The first reason is that so you can book more sales calls, right? So obviously, right, if you don't have the time, let's say, to book more sales calls, or you have one person that is going to be full time, it's very likely that if they're well trained, they can book more calls than you would have booked instead. Especially if you're starting to burn out on booking calls, right? The second thing is so you cannot be so dispersed in your work, meaning that if you're doing like when you're running a coaching business, right, you have to do content, you have to do delivery, right, you have to improve your product, you have to to book calls, you have to close their sales calls, maybe have to do check-in client calls with clients. There's a lot of different tasks you have to do. That's pretty much the list, but there might be more things that you feel like you have to do or you are doing. And so the more different types of skills or activities you're doing, the less you're going to be able to just go all in and focus, right? That's why when a closer just does closing for 6 months, they get really, really good. Whereas a coach that has so many things to do, they move like an inch or two on each skill per with the same 6 months. So that's also another reason, right? The third reason is so you can reallocate your time, right? If we can truly see the ROI of implementing a setter, and I'll explain how to see that in a bit. Uh, if you can see that it's better to reallocate your time into something else that it's going to yield better returns, then yes, it does make sense to hire a setter, right? But that's in very specific cases. Most people kind of make assumptions about that, which are incorrect, in my opinion. So in that case, when should you hire? Where? Well, it's basically when there's a constraint in your time. Okay, like you only want to hire like when there's actually the biggest thing is your time, right? It's like you wake up every day and you have to make content and or perhaps you batch it once a week. You have to clear the inbox and then you have to hop on sales calls, and you clearly see that if you just replace the 2 hours or 3 hours that you do setting with three more calls, right, and improve the closing in the process because of it, maybe dedicate 30 minutes a day to improving your closing, then it would be massive, right? You would actually be able uh to make a lot more money, and that is truly the constraint, right? But this requires two things, okay? So one, it has to be the biggest constraint, right? And I should have put this first above this one, but it truly has to be the reason why you're stuck, right? Because a lot of times you have three constraints, right? And so you could say also that, well, if you have three constraints, you really only have one, which is the biggest one, right? But sometimes it's kind of neck and even, right? So, but you can clearly tell that there's the first one that you should be working on. And so if your price is still below 5K, like it's your biggest constraint is not calls. Like you just need to raise your price first, right? And so especially because if you want to book more calls and you feel like you have to hire a setter, now your price is 3K, so it's a lot less attractive for the setter to come into your business, right? So that's really why it's not recommended. That's why I recommend that it only becomes the biggest constraint when you've optimized your setting process as much as possible, meaning you have a script that a setter could follow, a proven script, not that you kind of go out of your way and you don't really follow, right? Like a proven script that works every single time, a framework that they can follow. You have a closing process and your closing rate is at least 20%, right? You have a script that you follow every single time. Your price, and you've been doing that for at least 2 months, right? Closing at the same closing rate or more. Your price is at least 5K, ideally at least 6K, right? 6,200, ideally, actually. Your ROAS is healthy, right? You're spending X amount on ads, you're getting at least 3 times that amount on upfront cash, right? And you have a structured delivery process that can scale, right? Because obviously, as you hire somebody, right, you're going to have less time also for delivery because people think that, oh, you can just hire somebody and you don't have to manage them. You have to manage people. You have to have one call per day with them, at least, even if it's 30 minutes, because people need accountability and they need leadership, right? So people think like, oh, I'll just delegate this, but it's truly not the case, in my opinion. And so you need all these things to be structured out because also when you do that, it's going to be much more attractive for high quality setters to want to be your setter, right? They actually want to be in your business and working for you. And this actually means that you're probably going to be at least at around 30K once you do all these things. Even if not, usually catch like 30K, right? So super important to do this. Don't it's not the biggest constraint on your time until you fix this. So now that you know when you should hire, let's say it's time to hire, right? How do you actually do that, right? So this is my favorite part. I've interviewed at this point probably over 100 people, right, for different roles, and I actually have a community. If you're a closer or a setter and you want, access to all my free trainings on how to set and how to close, that got me to close over $1 million. And yeah, everything for free, a community of other people just like you that you can practice with, and ultimately access to all the positions that I have for my clients. Just feel free to join the community. Just reach out to me on Instagram. But basically, that I have a community of a lot of people that I train, right? And I interview to for my clients. So basically, this is my kind of 4-step process. Actually, 3 steps. This is part of the last one. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to have lead flow. Like hiring is literally the same as having a business. Okay, it's the same. Because you need lead flow, you need qualifying process, so you don't, a funnel, right? So you kind of, some people get cut out through the process, and then ultimately you need to select people, which is basically closing people onto the role, right? Making them an offer. So the first thing is you need to book calls, right? So the best places to find setters of quality is your own network from your clients, right? People that are your clients already that would love to set for you for some reason, from your audience, right? So you can put a stories up, or you can put posts up, or maybe you have an email list, something like that. Or you can get people from hiring places, meaning like agencies. Sometimes they can work out, or Facebook groups, right? You can make posts there, and you want to at least book 10 calls. 10 calls. Okay. Because most people are like, yeah, you could just interview 5. I found that from those 5, maybe one won't show, or they will be really bad, and the others are like kind of okay. Maybe there's one that seems really good, but you're kind of biased because you're not interviewing enough, so you kind of have this scarcity mentality. Like, just the more the better. Like at least 10, ideally 15, honestly. And like it's just 30-minute calls, and it's one of the biggest time wasters is hiring the wrong person and then having them leave. It's just such a big cost. I highly, highly recommend to dedicate a long time. Now, if you want a train setter, obviously you can reach out to me. I have a lot of people in my community that I can place very easily. Obviously I can do the hiring for you, but that requires us to work together. If it's just you want somebody for free, I can always make a post and people can join. So that's the first one. You want to have at least 10 calls, ideally 10, 15. The second step is when you hop on the call, you want to watch them like a hawk without making them feel like they're being watched like a hawk. It's okay if it kind of comes through that you're actually interviewing them because you are, but ultimately you want to have this kind of friendly, you want to also be attractive as a person, because if you can be attractive, then they will be more likely to also want to join your company, right? Like, why would they want to follow somebody who's not attractive as a person, right? They don't feel like they would want to work with that person, right? And so you want to have a specific list of questions that you ask every single person, and you kind of check the boxes, and you want to evaluate them on three things: your their knowledge of your niche, not nice, their knowledge of your niche, right? So you have a fitness offer, like what's their fitness background? Have they had any injuries before? Like things like that, right? Or if it's money, have they had a business before? Or, why are they in this journey anyways in the first place? Understand really like what's the knowledge, because if they understand the niche, they can speak the language of the niche, so they can relate with the problems of the avatar, and it makes it a lot easier, basically, right? So that's the first one. Second one is skill. Okay. Skill level is harder. I used to recommend to do a second interview where you would role play with them just to see where their skill is at. But honestly, I found that as long as they're not entirely mediocre, like you can do like a short role play on a call if you want to, but I wouldn't let that stop you from hiring that person, because some people can be great on role plays, but then bad on calls, and others can be like bad on calls, but incredible. Sorry, the other way around: bad on role plays, but good on calls, right? And I actually learned this from Cole Gordon. So I wouldn't let that stop you. The most important thing is that they have the willingness, and the third thing, which is the willingness to learn. It's the what I call the KCIs, key culture indicators, not KPIs, KCIs. So it's the things that you're looking for, the values, the behaviors, the attitudes that you see from them that will reflect on their performance, right? Things like how proactive are they? Can they read the room and know when to talk and when to listen, right? Are they rude? Do they have this off energy that just feels like they're either insecure, or they just don't know what they're saying, they don't really know attention to detail, right? Or is it the opposite, where they're super attention to detail, they're over prepared, they they have like I don't know, the best preparation and that you've seen from anybody. They have this light, this energy. This is especially important for a closer, but also important for a setter. They don't have to be super charismatic and super likable, right? That's different. Better for a closer, perhaps, but for a setter, you need somebody who can actually connect, right? And especially for a setter, if you're texting them right before booking a call, you want to see how fast they get back to you, how many times did they follow up, because that is going to reflect on how many times they do that for the people that you're trying to get into your program, obviously, right? So that's step two. You want to evaluate them, right? And based on that, and you give them a scale of 1 to 10, take notes on everything, and then compile that at the end. And you want to pick the top three from those 10 plus calls that you had. Okay. Pick the top three. Sometimes it's going to be like, this fourth person, really could be good. And so you can even book up to five. Okay. Sometimes it can be like, no, I only have like two people that would make it. If you have only one, then I would start again, because one, it just means that you didn't interview enough people. And so it just means like you might have gotten lucky and just gotten the right person. Sometimes it can happen, but it also might be clouding your judgment because, and this is the last one, which is like, it needs to be a hell yes. And you have no doubt, right? And don't hire just to hire. Don't hire just to get it over with, because that's like the biggest thing. It just takes so much longer to then have to fix that afterwards. Whereas if you could just hire correctly from the start, it's going to be a lot better. So focus on that. Um, and that's pretty much it. It's like, sorry, no, actually, now at this point, we pick three people, book a second 30-minute call with them to go over your KCIs, right? You ideally you have a list of key culture indicators, or behaviors and values that you're looking for them to uphold and behave like, and also SOPs, right? Tasks that you want them to do and how to do them. And you want to go over that with them as a second chance for them to show you who they truly are. Because sometimes people can kind of give you an idea in the first one, but if you do this, then you can really see, like, did they show up also on time to the second call, right? Were they enthusiastic about the KCIs and becoming that type of person, right? Were they like, oh yeah, I've done these SOPs before, I can definitely do this, I'm super excited? Or were they more like, oh yeah, yeah, I can do that, kind of like just putting it to the side, and so because of that, you can really get an idea of where people stand, and make your selection. And again, at the end, you want to select one person. Two could be helpful. You might need a tool like ManyChat to, you know, um, see, to make the inbox more manageable. But ultimately, that's about it. That's how I would do it. I would pick the top one person, and the rule is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. If you have any doubts, it's a hell no. So don't do it. Trust me, I've made that mistake because I didn't trust myself, I didn't trust my gut, and I ended up paying for it. So just just don't. Just trust your gut. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Now there could be some false positives, and here's the only caveat to that rule: is if you're new to hiring and you're not really sure how well to listen to your gut, right? Or if your hunches are correct or not. And most importantly, if you would regret not hiring that person because they seem great, but they have this little doubt, just hire them for a week, do a test. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, and just keep interviewing people. That's it. That's the only thing. Because even more than likely, it's not going to work out because if you have a doubt, it's probably going to make it worse. And remember, like what they show you in the interview is going to be their best. It only goes down from there. And so because of that, like small problems can become big problems. But just to learn, just to make sure you can listen to your intuition and trust it, you can hire somebody for a week, but just continue interviewing others and then see how it works out. And if it does, perhaps he was just overanalyzing the situation, right? Perhaps not. Who knows? So this is my method of how I hire people. It's pretty simple. Should take you about a week to find a really killer. And the most important thing is volume beats anxiety of decision. So if you talk to 15 people, like there's bound to be one person that is hireable there. And so the more people you talk to, the more likely you are. And I know it's a lot of people to talk to, but it's worth it, and it will change your business entirely, and it will finally allow you to scale and also change their life. So it's very, very rewarding. So if you like this type of video, please leave a like and subscribe, so that way you can get more videos like these that are going to help you with your coaching business to get to 50K per month. Not only just hiring your sales team, but implementing a whole acquisition infrastructure that allows you to predictably and scalably get to 50K per month without worrying about going back to wherever you were at the moment. So have an amazing day, and I hope that was helpful.